Everybody, hello, good evening, sir.
Good
How are you
evening.
doing?
I'm doing very well, thank
How
you.
is Calcutta?
Calcutta is wonderful. I've come back after a very long time. My name is Dalip Tahil, by the way. I've come to Calcutta back after a long, thanks to you. And it's been absolutely fantastic. We've just come back from Park Street, where I used to live many years ago. But some things haven't changed. We went to Fleury's.
Yes.
That was fantastic. So yeah, it's great to be back in Calcutta.
So, sir, I would like to start our conversation by asking that, so we just made our first film. So, what was your experience like making your first film? And even we know the background that you're coming from theatre. So, what was that like?
Oh, that really takes me back many years. My first film was Ankur with Mr. Shyam Benegal, which was a huge privilege because working with Shyam Babu was absolutely fantastic. I had no experience, but it's different because you're a filmmaker and I was an actor in Ankur. I had no clue as to what filmmaking was about. I didn't need to because I was an actor, but I was very well instructed. And with Mr. Shyam Benegal's experience, and Mr. Govind Nailani was the DOP. So I was in very good hands. But no, I had no idea what was going on. I mean, I just did what Mr. Benegal asked me to do. And I also didn't realize at that time that there is something called editing. So most of my role got edited out. I thought it's like a theatre play where you do a thing and everything remains and it's all there in front of an audience. But I had not anticipated that there's a department called editing. Cut. But it was a good experience. It was a very good experience. And like I said, I was very privileged to have started with my first film with such wonderful people like Mr. Shyam Benegal, Mr. Govind Nailani. The star cast was some very good actors, Sadhu Meher, Anant Nag, of course, Shabana Azmi. So it was a very rewarding experience as a first film.
But even though it got cut, you had a very fulfilling experience out of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
entire
you see
thing.
that when at that age, at my age, when I was like 19 years old, you don't really care about it. I was just so excited to have
Just too excited to be a part of it.
part of such a good
Yes,
film, and
yes.
this experience of working with these people was far more rewarding than anything else. And
Exactly.
I mean, now I in fact talk about it and I have a good laugh that my role was cut out. But at the time also, I wasn't really worried about it in the sense that I knew it was cut, but I didn't think that.
And you had this iconic dialogue of beer
beer
finish.
Chalo restaurant mein jaate hain, something like that.
And so you were speaking about the working part of it. So we have been also hearing in the news and all for a very long time that the work culture in the film industry was very different back in the 90s, especially with the shifts and all, and now it's very different. So would you like to expand a little bit on that? Because right now the working style of us in indie format, it's skeleton crew.
Yes, it is different, and that's mainly because of the format in those days when I joined the movies in the mid 70s. There was only one single screen format for release, and the films that were made for the single screen format had to be of a certain composition. You had a star cast, you had the top star, and only then could you hope to get a film released because it was single screen. There were a lot of movies being made at that time, so there should be a long queue for you to get into the theatre, for your film to be seen. And that only happened if you had a star cast. As a result, the popular and the bankable stars were the ones with all the films. So the supporting cast also had to be part of all those films. And that's the whole system. So it went along. It is today also, but in those days it was completely star driven. So that was the way the movies were made. You had to hire a star, then the business people came and gave you the money. So then you shot with them, then you went back you showed them what you had shot, usually a song, and then the distributors would come and give you more money, and then you did so it went from schedule to schedule. Very often the people who had the money ran out of money and the film was never made. As a result, actors signed on more than one film at a time as a security measure, because बोलते थे कि अगर एक पिक्चर रुक गई तो दूसरी पिक्चर चलेगी. So actors were working throughout the day in 3-4 different films. And sure enough, I mean, if you had signed on for 10 films as a character actor, 3 or 4 of them would fall along the wayside. I mean, they'd run out of money at some stage or the other, so they weren't complete. Out of the other 6, maybe 2 or 3 would be complete and released. And if one succeeded, then you're back in the business. So it was a bit like playing roulette. You put your chips on various numbers and hope that one of the numbers will work and you'll be back in business. So it was a system which was unique to the Indian film industry. Nowhere else in the world that I can recall that films are made in this way. And so there was a kind of a method to that madness. And it was very unique to Bombay film industry, where people were doing 3 and 4 different films simultaneously. However, the quality of those films is for everybody to see in the 80s. Some were really good. How they became good is anybody's guess. But those are the makers who did have, a bound script and did have an idea as to what they were doing. The rest of them, it was a speculative kind of thing. He would go to the it was a complete roulette game. That ठीक है मैं ये star cast को जोड़ के इनको करके I make a formula film. I put my marker on a film that has got the regular formula, and if it worked, it worked. If it didn't, it didn't, kind of thing. So yeah, it was a lot of it was a huge gamble, and a lot of production companies were successful, and a lot of them were not.
Correct.
So that was a system then, because the trouble was that there was the only way the audience could see their content was single screen. So if there are 350 screens all over India, and there are 500 movies being made, I rest my case. Need I say any more? Some bheed lag jati thi na. So there should be a queue of people who wanted to release their movies on the single screen. So I mean, if it didn't do a little well, nobody gave it a chance. It was removed, and and the distributors would take another film. So that's what drove. That's how the film industry was powered, and it's always been the case that it's the distribution that determines a lot of factors. And then after that, they came television. So that whole format changed. Then television began to come into people's homes. People began to write for television. The film industry at first couldn't accept it, but there was a huge television audience. Television gained a lot of popularity. So that became a format of being able to see your content. Then, of course, as you know, it came to multiplexes, and now you can see it on your mobile phone.
Exactly.
So you see, that has changed the way you make film. You made your film.
Yes. In fact, on that note, like as you was telling, we had some similarities in terms of that when we were also making Dispersion. Like it was, even though we shot the entire film in 13 days, it was spread over 3 months, because every month we used to shoot for 4 to 5 days. So first schedule, our budget was, let's say, X. And the idea was that let's make it an X and show it to our producers, and they were like our group and everything, and okay, something is happening, put more money in, sign people, and then, but yeah, we definitely had a script and idea, otherwise this kind of film would not have
Absolutely.
been.
13 days is fantastic. 13 shooting days.
13 shooting days,
That's
yes.
wonderful.
Yeah.
And see, so yeah.
And actually, sir, like it's a very interesting fact that most of the Bengali films are shot in that period, like the big mainstream films, in a period of 13 to 14 days. 13 to 14 days. Yes. So yeah, now with technology, as you were saying, like the production process has become a lot efficient, and even like there's no barrier to entry in that sense.
There isn't.
There isn't. Like even if there is, like it's reduced a lot in that way. And
I think right now the barrier to enter into this is just within your
the mental barrier is there. Mental barrier.
It's only your creative barriers, because technology supports you all the way.
Yes.
You really don't need to release anywhere. You can put it on YouTube.
Correct.
You can release your film, and you can make it with a mobile camera, like a home production. You don't need any distributors. Actually speaking, if it's a good product, there are festivals for short films, for very short films, for feature films. So the distribution aspect has been, now you have several platforms where you can show your work.
Exactly.
That's not a restriction, which is a huge gain technologically.
Absolutely,
That's why I was describing to you because you were not there. In the single screen era, it was mayhem.
Yes.
Bloodshed. Until you couldn't get your movie out.
Yes.
So today the only restriction is in your mind.
Absolutely.
If you have the creativity, the tools are all there for you to be able to create music, create a film, create television, do whatever you like. So today if anybody tells me that, oh, I can't make the film, what to do, I have no sympathy for them. And that's why I think you've done a wonderful thing by making the film. And that is fantastic. And you've seen, as we've seen now, how many opportunities open up.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
So that is, and I have always believed that technology has driven the creativity in cinema.
Yes, yes.
And I have a reason for that. Because first people were writing for the single screen, which had a star cast, a superstar cast, the same formula that was expected to do well. So writers wrote with that kind of aspect in mind. Then came television. So writers had to write for television. That changed the way you wrote and the way you constructed your story a lot. Then came multiplexes. So that began also as a change for the people were writing for multiplexes for different sets of audiences who could sustain certain movies, and certain movies could be made for a wider audience. So, and then there are attention spans.
Yes.
With social media. Yeah. So the writing has had to change according to the technology.
Yes, absolutely. And which brings me to my final question, that what is the advice you have for creatives like us, not only just filmmakers, because now filmmakers is like you can be anything you want, as you said. So what is?
I actually don't. I don't like this advice business. Because to be very honest, I'm in no position to give anybody any advice.
No.
And the advice that I give might be in fact detrimental to their growth as human beings. So I wouldn't like to get into that. But I have always been a practical person. I always say that if you have something to say, whether it's musically, cinematically, or in a painting, or you're creative in any form, just go ahead and do it. Because there is no one who can really tell you how to be creative. There's no such gadget, there's no such magic wand that says, oh, this is what you should do. This is creative, is something that comes from you. You have to let it out and see what your format is, whether you're a painter or a musician or a filmmaker or whatever, and go ahead and do it. And like I said, today you have the opportunity to do it. So it's nothing like actually performing and doing what you're doing to be able to go ahead. So talking about it and me giving you advice is absolutely redundant, because your life is totally different to what my life was. The way I started was totally different. I can only share those experiences, but I can't tell you what to do. That work I'm not going to do for you. You have to do yourself. You have to do the hard work of thinking. So I'm not going to think for you. So do your own thinking, and whatever it is that you want to do, just do it without much fuss.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very
that was
much.
great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.